Welcome back. Now that you understand the difference between raster and vector graphics, let's see what Font Awesome can do. This is Font Awesome's website. As you can see, 675 icons to choose from. That's a lot of icons. Because they're vectors, you can make them as large as you need them to be without any loss of quality. You can also change them using CSS. You can change the color, the size, even add a shadow. And they say, and anything that's possible with CSS. You can do a whole lot with CSS. This makes it very flexible. It's also completely free, even for commercial use. If you build an application and want to sell it, you don't have to pay them anything to use their icons. That's just less work that you have to do. And also the final point that I'll highlight is it's desktop friendly, which means that you can install it as a system font and use it in applications like Microsoft Word, Microsoft PowerPoint, and any other application that allows you to change the font. Remember those times you searched for that perfect smiley face icon with the right resolution? Well, now it's at your fingertips. You don't have to do that anymore. Makes things a lot easier. Let's look at some icons. Here are the icons that have been released in the latest version, which is 4.7 at this time. As you can see, there's a lot of icons here. Let's look at the address book icons. There are two variants. The first is address book, and the second is address book O. In the address book icon, the person is transparent while the book holds the color. In the address book O icon, the person holds the color and the borders of the book, but the actual cover of the book is transparent. This is helpful depending on what look you're trying to go for, and also you can change the icon when the user hovers over it. That's a nice effect. Let's click on the address book icon. Here's the address book icons page. At the top, they give you a preview of the icon at different sizes. Here's the icon's name. Here's the Unicode value. And finally, here's the element. They've chosen to use an I element. You can use a span, a div element, or another element that you would like to use. The most important part are the classes that they've assigned to the element. You'll see FA and FA address book. FA indicates that the item is a Font Awesome item. FA address book indicates that that's the icon that should be used. You have to pair both of these together, otherwise the icon won't appear. And then you can add additional classes or inline CSS to change the look of the icon. Again, you can change the color, or you can change the color when the person hovers over it with their mouse. There's a lot you can do here. Let's look at more icons. They have a nice search tool on the icons page. Let's use that. Let's type in Wi-Fi. Here's the Wi-Fi icon. On the Wi-Fi icon page, you have the image displayed a few times, different sizes. There's the name. There's the Unicode value, and here's the element. I used the Wi-Fi icon in a web application that I created to show whether or not the web app was connected. If it was connected, then it would pulse a dark green to a light green. If it was disconnected, it would pulse from a dark red to a light red. I used a mixture of jQuery and CSS to make this happen, and later in the course I'll show you how to do that. Let's move on to some examples. Scrolling down here, they have the basic icon, which is what we've seen on the icon pages. And this allows you to increase the size relative to its container. So in other words, if you have a div that's on the side, you can use the fa2x class to make it 2 times larger than it would normally be, but relative to that div's size. You can set this to a specific pixel or EM size with CSS, and the property you use is font size. But this is another option that's available depending on what you're trying to do. There's a class you use for fixed width icons, and you use the fa-fw class to make sure that these icons are the same width. It would look silly if the house was wider than the book, or the pencil was wider than the gear. That's what the fa-fw class does for you. You can use the Font Awesome icons to replace the traditional bullets in an unordered list. That gives you the ability for some creativity. There's bordered and pulled icons. There's animated icons. These are really cool. I've actually used one of these in a web application to indicate that the page was still loading. You could even make these more interesting by changing the color or making it pulse larger to smaller. All kinds of things you can do here. You can change the orientation of the icon by rotating it. You can use these classes on the left side to rotate the icons as needed. That's helpful. You can also stack icons, which really gives you an additional level of flexibility. If you feel your icon needs something behind it, well, put a circle behind it or put a square behind it. Again, depending on the look you're going for, this really gives you flexibility. And then they have an example using custom CSS. If I highlight over these stars, they become gold stars. Really neat. Let's summarize. There are over 350 icons in the Font Awesome library. Also, it's free, even for commercial use. You can style it using CSS properties such as color and size, and you can install it as a system font and use it in applications like Microsoft Word or PowerPoint or another application. I hope you're excited to learn how to use Font Awesome. I'll see you in the next lecture.